G'day, I'm Brian from BsianTech. We're going to look at this Dell Alienware X15 R1. It's a 15-inch gaming laptop, as you can see from all the pretty RGB lights that it's emitting. Having spent a bit of time with this laptop, those pretty lights are starting to grow on me. But if you are on business and you don't want to grab extra attention, luckily you can disable and turn off those RGB lights through the Alienware software. Now the X15 is a new form factor from Dell. It boasts this new thin and light gaming with performance. Now when I unboxed this, I was pretty blown away how thin this was and how light it was for the amount of performance this has got. So we are going to have a look at the features of this computer, as well as the temperatures and fan noise and the internals. As always, I will put timestamps along this video so you can skip to the different sections that you may be interested in. Just help you save time. What the X15 can be configured with. With the processor, it is using the 11th gen Intel core, and you can either get the i7 or the i9. With the RAM, you can go up to a maximum capacity of 32 gigs. Now that is soldered to the system port, so make sure you configure it with the correct amount of RAM, as you can't upgrade it later on. With the storage, it has 2 slots of M.2 SSD, which is PCIe Gen 4. There are 3 options for the discrete graphics. You can choose between the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 or the 3070 or the 3080. It has a 400 nit Quad HD display that can go up to 240 Hz, which is fantastic refresh rate for the gamers. As for business, it's not going to make that much use, but for the people who want to have played a bit of the games after work, that's absolutely fantastic to have that option. With the Quad HD display, it does have quite narrow, thin bezel on each side, and I did not find there was too much light leak around the edges, and when I took it outside, I didn't find it too hard to read the display in broad daylight. It has a 720p webcam. It does not have a privacy shutter, so that's something I like to see in the next version. This is a recording from the 720p webcam from the Dell Alienware X15. This is the video and audio unedited, so I can hear and see what the quality of the webcam is like. And as always, I've got 2 types of lights currently turned on. I've got my 1 strill light turned on, and also 4 downlights in this room turned on as well for ambience. Now I'm going to turn off my 1 strill light off. You'll see this adjusts, hopefully. Now I do have 2 downlights in front of me, which is quite far away, so there's not much light currently hitting on my face. So this is what I, again, would consider a dark environment. Now if you're in an office environment, you should get much more light than what I'm currently in that condition. So I'm going to turn my 1 strill light back on, and hopefully this will adjust. And of course, better quality light gives you better quality picture. Now, definitely love to hear what your thoughts of this webcam. Put a comment below. Let's have a look at the ports. Starting on the left side of the computer, there is a power adapter port, air vent. Looking at the back, USB 3.2, which is a USB Type A port, Thunderbolt 4 port, micro SD card slot, a USB 3.2 Gen 2, which is a Type C port. Now this is not a Thunderbolt 4 port, just beware. Full-size HDMI version 2.1, and on the right hand side, a headphone jack. There are 2 speakers located on the bottom and on either side of the laptop. When I tested out the maximum volume of the speakers, it managed to measure in a peak of 91.5 decibels, which is decently loud, so you shouldn't have too much issues when you're doing a presentation outdoors. The quality of the speakers, the mids and highs was quite strong, but the bass was lacking quite a bit, which I found very surprising in a gaming laptop. Now I did also find that the sound quality of the speakers was a bit tinny, and it did distort a little bit when the volume was brought up to its maximum volume. As for the acoustics, it was to the front, so overall, I think the speakers could be improved in the next version, but this may not be an issue for the target market, which is gamers, because most gamers will have headsets or headphones when they're using this computer and playing games. So this may not be a massive issue for the gaming sector. But for those who are doing business who really sometimes don't use the headphones and we're doing presentation, it'd be nice to have some decent sound. Audio quality of the Alienware X15 at 100% volume. The X15R1 does come with an 86 watt-hour 6-cell battery, and I tested out the battery life of this X15. Now I'm not expecting great battery life out of this X15, as most gaming laptops don't have fantastic battery life, as it has quite a lot of very power-hungry performance parts. But I did test it in my 5 different modes. Now this is running Windows 11, so you'll see the new power schemes. So in best performance, it managed to get 48 minutes. In balance mode, it managed to get 50 minutes. And in better power efficiency, it managed to get 1 hour and 50 minutes. In battery save modes, it managed to get 2 hours and 40 minutes. And in media mode, it managed to get 3 hours. So you can see it does not have fantastic battery life, just like all the other gaming laptops. So you want to be close to mains power. But still, you'll be able to take this laptop out to do a presentation for 1 hour or so if you put it in battery power efficiency mode. So that's still decent. The weight of the Dell Alienware X15 is 2.33 kilos, plus the 240 watt power adapter becomes a combined weight of 3 kilos that you might be carrying around with you. As for the temperatures and fan noise of the X15, when I took the measurements, my ambient temperature was 23 degrees Celsius and my ambient room noise was 37 decibels. Now before I get started, your average hand is anywhere between 33 to 34 degrees Celsius. Just gives you a bit of idea, reference points to see how hot or cool this laptop could be. So I took my base measurement when the laptop was on idle, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 34 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 37 decibels. So that's practically quiet, and the internal core was averaging about 45 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer on 20% load, so that's pretty much average use. So tasks like office productivity work, surfing the web, streaming videos, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 38 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 38 decibels. And as for the internal core temperature, it averaged at 56 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer on 50% load, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 40 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 41 decibels. And the internal core temperature was 71 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer on 100% load, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 41 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 50 decibels. And the internal core temperature averaged at 85 degrees Celsius. Then I put the computer on game performance mode, and the hottest area on the keyboard measured in at 45 degrees Celsius. As for the fan noise, hit a maximum of 54 decibels. And the internal core temperature was averaging at 86 degrees Celsius. I also measured the bottom back cover of the computer, and the hottest area measured in at 42 degrees Celsius. And as for the fan noise, was of course still at 54 decibels. Let's have a little stability performance of the processor in the Alienware X15. This one's configured with an i9-11900H processor. And look at the Intel website, we have a maximum turbo boost of 4.9 GHz and has a base clock speed of 2.4 GHz at 45 watt TDP, and can go all the way down to 2.1 GHz at 35 watt TDP if it's feeling really hot or it's trying to save power. Ideally, we want to see it around about the 2.5 GHz or above. And that means we're doing very well in thermals. So I've had this computer running on 100% load. So that's the processor, RAM, hard drive, and also the discrete graphics, which is the RTX 3080. Now I've got this computer connected to mains power and it is set to game performance mode. So I'm letting the fan and also giving it as much power as it needs to run at its maximum performance. And I can see that the average of the speed of the processor is anywhere between 3.8 to about 4.1 gigahertz. So I'll say an average around about 3.9 gigahertz is its average for the performance of the processor. Now that's doing really well even after 3 hours of workload, and the internal core temperature is anywhere between 89 degrees Celsius to around about 92 degrees Celsius. So it's not at its maximum, but it is running quite hot. But I'm going to have to admit that the actual thermal solution on this X15 is doing considerably very well, considering that it's also quite thin and we've got quite a high clock speed here. So we definitely don't have thermal throttling, considering it's above the 2.5 gigahertz. And we do have a little bit of thermal throttling, but that's not that bad considering that it can go about 4.9 gigahertz, but it's running around about average of 4. So that's doing extremely well. So let's have a look at the single core behavior of this processor in this X15. So I'm going to start Citybench single core tasks, and we'll see that we'll start to have 4.4 to 4.6 gigahertz just jumped up to there, and we're maintaining around about 4.6 gigahertz on single core performance. Now this computer is still connected to mains power and is set to game performance mode at the moment. So we saw it quickly go to about 4.7. Now it's just sitting around about 4.6, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to stay consistent at 4.5 to about 4.6 gigahertz without any issues at all. Here's the benchmarks results for the X15R1. This particular one is configured with an i9-11900H processor with 32 gigs of RAM and GeForce RTX 3080. So here's the results for Fastmark, Citybench R23, PC Mark, 3D Mark, Geekbench 5, Crystal Disk Mark, Fusion Photoshop, Fusion Lightroom, Fusion Premiere Pro, Fusion After Effects, Fusion DaVinci Resolve, Blender, LuxMark, Octane Bench, MATLAB 2020B, Fusion Engine, and SpecView Pref. And some gaming benchmarks like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry New Dawn, Far Cry 6, and Immortal Phoenix Rising. Looking at the performance of this X15 and taking in consideration of the temperatures, fan noise, as well as the footprint and dimensions of the X15, and comparing it with the M15 and the Area 51, this, I think, Dell has found a great thermal solution for it, because it has able to keep up with those two that I've actually tested out, the performance on this X15 in a much thinner footprint and lighter laptop, and still maintain a high performance and keeping up with the performance of those two thick gaming laptops. I think Dell have done an absolute great job. With the keyboard, ignoring all the pretty lights, it's got quite a lot of key travel. It has a tactile feel, quite a strong bounce to them, and they're not very loud keys. Not like the carry keys, so they're actually quite quiet for the keys when typing. And they've got good spacing in between, and it is a very smooth texture for each individual keys as well. With the trackpad, it is a mechanical trackpad, and as you can see, it does light up as well with RGB. You can get that customized in the Alienware software. And it is hinged at the top, and you can depress it at the bottom. Now it is quite smooth, quite glass feel to it as well, And it's got a nice size, so you shouldn't have any issue typing while and accidentally pressing the trackpad. Let's have a look at the internals of the Alienware X15. Let's start off at the bottom here. We've got the 87 watt hour battery, which is a 6 cell battery, and it's connected to the system board is right here. Right above that in the center is the two M.2 slots for the SSD. We've got the primary slot, which is right here. You can see the heatsink with it, and then we've got another free slot for upgradability later on for SSD. Right on the left of it, we've got the Wi-Fi module, and then we've got the system board. Now the RAM is integrated into the system board, so there's no upgradability, so make sure you actually purchase the correct amount of RAM, as you can't upgrade later on. We've got the processor that lives underneath this back plate here, and then we've got the discrete graphics, which is the RTX 3080 living underneath here. Now they're on the other side of the system. Well, I'm not going to take it off, but straight away we can see that we've got a new thermal solution for this, and it is a quad fan system. And how the airflow works is it goes down, it sucks in air from the bottom, and then these two will go out that way, and this one here will go from down and then out, and as well as out to the rear as well. So it goes to the side and rear. Now it also uses this new gallium silicon thermal interface solution for the face, which also improves. So that is one of the new things that they've added to it. And I'll just quickly show you the massive heat pipes on through a photo, and you can see it is quite a bit of a design. And this, I have to say, has been quite a bit of improvement using this thermal solution design, considering how well the thermals are in my performance tests as well as the thermal tests. My final thoughts of this X15 are one. Let's start off with what can be improved first. First would be the ports. The amount of ports that it has, it could have more ports as there is more space for it, and especially that USB 3.2 Gen 2 port, which is a Type-C port. I thought that might have been a Thunderbolt 4 port. Rather than just have one Thunderbolt 4 port, it'd be nice to have two Thunderbolt 4 ports. So you do need to be careful on that one there. And you probably need to find docking solutions if you don't have enough ports. And this also means you need to connect the power adapter to this X15 if you have a docking solution as well, because it does require 240 watts and most docking stations don't provide that. So it would be nice if it had a dedicated docking solution for this. What also can be improved is the speakers. The speakers are lacking quite a bit. I like to see massive improvements in the speakers. And the final thing that I like to see improved is the battery life. If the battery can do a little bit more than an hour, even though this is a gaming computer, I'd like to see it do more than an hour on game performance mode or in performance mode, just so we can actually do a little, take this off even when we're doing rendering or doing some hardcore work. So definitely I'd like to see more than an hour on when it is in performance mode for the battery. What I like about the X15R1 is its slim form factor and its weight as well for its performance. And it's not even sacrificing performance for those crazy things that you normally would have to sacrifice. That's amazing because the performance on it is mind-boggling because it's keeping up with the big boys like the Area 51. It's just amazing. Dell have done a fantastic job on the X15 and this new series. And it's a gorgeous looking laptop as well too, just the outside of it. And those RGB lights, they are growing on me. I am staying like these RGB lights for sure. And I hope you find this video informative or enjoyed it. If you did, even to support my channel, smack that like button for me. It does help me out. And if you haven't done already, subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscribe button on the screen. I do try to upload a new video every week. And also I have a members area as well too. So if you'd like to support me more, join my members area. And as always, imperfections in life makes it beautiful and interesting. And I'll catch you in the next video.